Hello, welcome to Eat the Treat. We're a nonprofit that aims to end health disparities, and I'm Dr. Amaris Williams. I have a PhD in nutrition. I'm an avid foodie and a cook, and I do live cook-along cooking demonstrations on YouTube for free. Um, they are hypertension friendly, so DASH diet based, and diabetes friendly, often um, recipes that we make live together. So I post the ingredients ahead of time on the eat-2-treat.org, and so you can join me in the kitchen for making a delicious meal. So today we're making beets and sweets, and by that I mean beets like the red root, red root, and sweet potatoes, the orange root. And that's really the highlight of the meal, I think. I threw some flounder in there to have some protein with it, but it's really about the beets and the sweets. That's the delicious part. So, if your oven is not on, turn it on at 350 and we'll get started. All right, so let me just change the view. Okay. So the first step is to turn your oven on at 350 if it's not on. And then I'm gonna put some flounder on this cookie sheet, and I overestimated how much flounder I had, so I have some flounder and I have some catfish here. Any white fish will do for this recipe. So I've got 2 pieces of flounder and then a couple pieces of catfish, and they should cook at about the same rate because they're about the same thickness, and that's really all we're going for here. All right. And then I'm going to put this to the side. We're going to season this with salt and onion powder and butter, unsalted butter. I've got unsalted butter melted, so if your butter is not melted, go ahead and put it in the microwave and melt it. But this is 2 tablespoons of butter. And the next step is to juice this lemon. And this is not a seedless lemon. I got this lemon at Aldi. They don't sell seedless lemons. So I'm going to have to juice it into a separate bowl and then get the seeds out. So I've got a little bowl here, and I'm just going to stick this fork in the lemon, and that just helps direct the squirt downwards so it doesn't spray all over the place as much. It's still going to spray all over the place because it's a lemon, and their goal is to impede us in every way, but the fork helps. And then you can also use it to scrape it and get as much juice out as possible. So if you twist the fork in the lemon, it really gets a lot of juice out and seeds. All right. So half a lemon is really all we need for the juicing part, and the other half we'll use to serve. So you can serve it with the other half of the lemon so that people can squirt more lemon juice on their fish as they see fit. So I'm just taking the seeds out now, and then I'm going to pour this lemon juice, not all of it, but a good portion, maybe about 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. I'm going to pour that into my 2 tablespoons of butter, and that's going to be my sauce. For the fish. So I got about 2 tablespoons of lemon juice in with my butter, my melted butter. And nice and curdled now. Just going to spread this on the fish. butter fat has solidified because the lemon juice was cold and it's also acidic. But you can spread it, fish, and it'll melt in the oven. Give you that nice flavor. And then the last step is just to sprinkle some seasonings on there. I suggested onion powder and smoked paprika and white pepper if you decide. But really, you can be anything that you want. Garlic powder would be great. I've got onion powder here. And I'm just going to sprinkle some on the fish. Not a lot. Doesn't have to be particularly oniony. And then this is smoked paprika. Just going to sprinkle some of that on there. And then some salt. Now the salt is optional. If you're really, really, really trying to watch your blood pressure, definitely go light on the salt or omit it entirely. It'll take you a couple of weeks, but eventually you get used to not eating salt and you lose weight. Like I did no salt diet for a week and I lost 4 pounds in a week. And that's just all water that's retained when you eat salt. Alright, so I'm going to put this in my 350 degree oven and I'll be right back. Okay. Now, onto the beets. This is a beet, particularly ugly one. I cut the leaves off. This is what it looks like when you get it from the store. You get beets that are nice and red. They're red when they're wet. And you get the leaves. You can eat the leaves. You can cook them down like collard greens. But I find that they're not good. That's just my opinion. But go ahead and peel your beets. So this one is not cooperating with me. What you can do to make it a little easier is cut the roots off first, because we're going to cut those off anyway, and then peel the beet. And if you get the beet juice on your clothes, I know this from experience, it will come out of most fabrics. I haven't encountered a fabric that it won't come out of, but I can't guarantee that there's not something out there that it won't come out of. If you wash it in water, it's a water soluble thing. If you got something on that's dry cleanable, I highly recommend an apron. I do not want you to get beet juice on your dry cleanable clothes. Alright, and then you can cut the stem part off of the beet as well, and then you end up with something that looks like this. Alright, and we're going to do that with all the beets. Trim them down, cut off the stem, cut off the root, and peel them. Should have thought of a story to tell while I was doing this. Nope, no stories. And then once you're finished peeling your beets, go ahead and peel your sweet potato. And we're just going to dice them. Now, if you Google beets and sweets and look at all the recipes out there, they all say roast the beets and the sweet potatoes. You'll notice that I have a pan out on my cooktop here, and that's because I don't like roasted beets. And I find that beets really shine when they're sauteed and you get them a little caramelized on the outside. That is when the beets are delicious. And I credit that to Chef Jim, who was on here on this channel earlier. He made Thai curry, sweet potato and edamame, which was delicious. And he made spaghetti squash with roasted tomato sauce. He used to work for the Ohio State University, and he used to drive around in this giant mobile kitchen. So it was a kitchen. I mean, they still have it. I mean, we still have it. It's a bus that has a kitchen in it, basically, and it has TVs on the side, and it they drive around and do cooking demos in it. It's perfect for that. All right, I'll move on to the sweet potatoes. Anyway, so he drove this giant kitchen to this community garden where we were growing beets, and nobody really knew what to do with them besides pickling them, which, you know, is a lot of sugar and is not particularly healthful. So he's like, no, you can just saute them in some oil with some salt and they're delicious. And nobody believed him. So he took a beet and prepared it that way in a few minutes, and he was right. It was delicious. So this is a little tribute to Chef Jim. I've been cooking beets this way ever since. Before I thought I didn't like beets, but turns out I do like beets. All right, got a sweet potato done. And I think that's enough because I got really, really big sweet potatoes, like massive. So what we're gonna do with these is dice them, like I said. And Chef Jim, when he dices sweet potatoes, he'll cut a flat side, which is a smart way to do it so it doesn't roll around on you. And then he cuts off all the other sides so that he has a square block of sweet potatoes, rectangle of sweet potatoes. It's not a rectangle. What is it? A prism. A prism. But that wastes a lot of sweet potato. So I just cut one flat side and then cut it into slices. And I'm doing about 1/2-inch slices here. I am not a chef, so they are not all the same size. And then I'm just going to turn my slices on the side and slice through them again. Being careful not to cut my fingers off. And then I'll turn my slices, my little sticks. So now I've got little sticks like this. Turn those 90 degrees, and slice through it one more time. And now I've got cubes. And that's what we're going for, is little cubes. And you can see here the resultant cubes. So that's what we're going for. 1/2-inch cubes. Do that with the sweet potatoes and the beets. And then we're just going to saute them until they're done. Until the beets are caramelized. Saute them in some olive oil till they're caramelized with a little bit of salt. Then we'll pull the fish out of the oven and serve that. Serve that with the Beets and Sweets. Okay. Okay, so again, got a flat side because we cut the root and the stem off. Don't know why I can't think of the word stem. And then now we've got sticks. Soon we'll have cubes. Highly recommend trying beets sauteed if you think you don't like beets. And if you don't like them sauteed, then you don't like beets, and that's fine. There's plenty of other healthful foods to eat. Okay, I think I'm gonna get started as far as the cooking process goes, and I'll cut the rest as what I have so far as cooking. So I'm putting about a tablespoon of oil in my pan, and I'm just gonna put what I've cut so far in there. And spread it around in the oil. You want, I'm doing 5 out of 10, but you want a relatively high heat because it's not going to caramelize quickly unless you've got it at a relatively high heat. I'm going to turn it up after I'm done cutting things so I don't have to worry about it burning while I'm cutting things. The reason, normally when I'm doing these cooking demos, I'm putting things in the pan as I cut them. And the reason I didn't do that this time is because I did this recipe before and actually burned my beets a little bit, like they were blackened. And they had a little bit of a bitter flavor when you blacken them. So I would not recommend blackened beets to anyone. They were still edible, but not delicious the way I like them to be. So we're going to avoid the blackening the beets. give your beets a stir, your sweets and beets a stir. And keep an eye on how much oil is in the pan. You may need to add more. I'm starting with 1 tablespoon, but might need to add more at some point. Looks like I've been out murdering people. Alright. Alright, so I'm going to put a little bit more oil in and turn up the heat. I'll see how 6 out of 10 looks. And I'll keep stirring them. Alright, so it's been about 15 minutes since the fish went in. I'm going to check on it and see how done it is. I'll be right back. I don't think this fish is quite done, but I'll show you what I'm looking for here. We're looking for the fish to flake easily. So I'm just going to take my fork that I used to juice my lemon and see if it comes apart easily. And you can't see what I'm doing. See if it comes apart easily when I touch it with the fork, and it's not coming apart easily. So I'm just going to put this back in the oven. Alright, stir your beets and sweets. I like how the beets turn the sweet potatoes red, but you can still tell that which one's a sweet potato and which one's a beet. Well, all that's left is to cook the fish until it's done, and cook the sweet potatoes and beets until they're a little caramelized. And it's kind of hard to tell when a beet is caramelized because it's already so dark, but it does change color and texture a little bit. It's like, I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain, but it gets kind of bubbly on the surface a little bit and browner than it normally is. Like, it turns brown instead of red. So when it's got a little brown and a little bubbliness on its surface, then it's done. But I don't see any reason to drag this on any longer. Just keep cooking your beets and sweets, and then one piece of fish is about 1/4 pound of fish, and that's your serving size. And so one fillet of fish, a reasonable size one, a 4-ounce fillet of fish is about your serving size. And then the beets and sweets, if you don't have blood sugar concerns, you can definitely eat a larger portion of the beets and sweets. But if you do have blood sugar concerns, the beets do have a little bit of sugar in them, but the sweet potato, of course, is mostly carbohydrate. So it's a potato. I mean, you know, potatoes are potatoes. So definitely watch your serving size of the potato portion of this. Yes, beets and sweets. I didn't come up with it, but I was like, I had sweet potatoes and I had beets, and so one way to figure out what you might want to eat when you have just a few random things in your pantry, in your fridge, and you've got to make a meal out of it, is to just put it in Google. So I just Googled beets sweet potato recipe, and then beets and sweets came up. And so, all the recipes I saw said roast it and put it in the oven, and I just, like I said, I don't like roasted beets, so I tried it in the stove and it was delicious. So whoever came up with it first, good job on them. But yeah. Alright, so I'm going to do an outro so that you guys can get back to cooking your beets and sweets, and don't forget to get your fish out of the oven when it's done. So today we made beets and sweets with flounder. It's a hypertension-friendly meal. It can be diabetes-friendly if you watch your portion sizes. And so hit subscribe and the bell icon to be reminded of the next demonstration. And I'll see you next time. Alright? Bye.